Alright, welcome to the video. I have a switch that I need to repair, which is an optical switch. It's number 44 on Star Trek The Next Generation. And this switch is the hardest switch to get to on the entire playfield. Other switches, you can just pull them out pretty easily, but these are located. This one is located underneath the Borg and two ramps, so it's a pretty extensive disassembly that I have to do. Here I'm showing the switch matrix where the optical sensor is out. Normally they're filled up for an optical sensor because they only show up on the switch matrix closed. Other switches are always open, so the only times optical switches work is when they're actually tripped. So that's the reason they're showing up like that on the switch matrix, on the switch edge test there. Here I'm removing the glass, getting ready to disassemble the playfield. You gotta get the Borg ship off first, I believe, so that will be the first thing that I'm going to remove, which the Borg's that big white ship in the center there. You'll see it once I get it off. It's pretty easy to remove the Borg ship because there's only 3 screws holding it in, so here I go. I'm about to do it, but I know I'm setting up the playfield so it's easier access to access some of the back stuff. That's the nice thing about these later pins is you can pull out the playfield like this to work on the back portion a lot easier. See, there's the Borg that I have in my hand there. It's already off, so it looks like I dropped a screw here, so I'm using the handy dandy magnet to pick it up. So you gotta have that if you're going to be working on pinball machines. It makes it a lot easier. Ooh, there goes the Borg. They've taken off. They are not assimilating us today. So here I'm looking at. I think I'm trying to get loose the first ramp. I'm looking to figure out how to get it out of there. Which it's always you know, I believe that was the Romulan ship that I just removed because it went on by. So just keep on working away at the playfield because these things are a puzzle to get them all apart and having the right tools at the right time to you know get everything undone. I know I took some liberties with this one because I was just pulling and tugging on the ramps to try to get the ramps out without having to remove each and every single item, which I wouldn't necessarily recommend that you do that if you're trying to protect your ramps, but these were pretty cracked anyhow, so if I ended up breaking them, I just say, well, might as well just get a new one anyhow because they're used ramps. I believe I'm about to pull the first one out, which I think this one it's the ramp to the left. Oh, I gotta unplug the stuff from the bottom. That's what I'm doing right now. You gotta unplug all the connectors on the bottom to get all the lights and everything that are connected to the ramp out. So that would have been one pain if I did break these ramps to have to replace all the lights and everything because you normally have to pot rivet them back into place because that's normally how they're attached. Yeah, here's the first ramp. It's the one off to the, yeah, there it is. Bam. There it is in all its glory. It has been removed, which this footage is sped up here in a bit, so it took me a lot longer to get it out of there than that, but I'm trying to keep this from being boring for everybody, but hopefully it's not still boring, but we'll see. Anyways, so now I'm working away on the other ramp. I did notice on that first ramp there was a screw that was used that somebody else put in place. It was from a door, not a door, but a light covering, like the little screws that hold the cover on the light so the wires aren't exposed. it was like that, and I was showing it to the camera, but I think I fast forward everything, and you couldn't really make it out. But I am going to have to find a replacement for that screw. But I was there's the second ramp. Glad to get that one out. So anyhow, now I'm messing with this back portion that holds up the Borg ship. That it's kind of a pain because I didn't want to necessarily disconnect it. And there's the back plastic that's underneath all the ramps. But I didn't want to disconnect it because I just thought, okay, here I'm showing the optic switch that I'm going to have to replace. I have not desoldered it yet and taken it out, but it's located there, and there's one on the other side. There's a sender and a receiver that you have to replace. I figured if I was going to go to the work of taking out the ramps and everything, I should just put in new switches because it could have just needed cleaned, but and here I'll get back to this, but I thought this was my new switches that I ordered, but when I take them out of the bag, you can see that I'm like, what? So there's the soldering iron that I'm trying to figure out where to place. So I didn't necessarily want to put it on the playfield. I think I almost did, but I was like, what if this thing falls off and then puts a mark on my playfield? I would be very upset with myself. So I thought better of it, and I put it on the ground where but you really gotta be careful with these soldering irons. They get very hot. So you're definitely gonna melt something or catch something on fire if you're not being careless with them. So I wouldn't necessarily recommend what I do, but it's hard to really find a area to place your soldering iron when you got to plug it in and deal with all the cords and everything. It's probably best to have one of those soldering irons that has the that are like propane. They're controlled with some sort of fuel, so I think it's like propane or something, or butane. Maybe it's a butane. Uh, they're cordless, so you don't have to necessarily thumper around like I'm doing here to try to get this thing in place. At first, I didn't realize that like I could pull the entire optic out. I thought it would be a pain in the butt to get the wires to come up, but I think like one of the sides just come out here, and I only had to mess with soldering the one side in. Yeah, here I go, trying to figure out how to get this thing unsoldered without destroying my playfield. You don't want to drip any solder on your playfield because that would definitely leave a mark. And here I'm about to figure out that like I got the used optical sensors, and I'm like, see, look at me. I'm figuring it out right now. I'm like, what the hell is this? This looks like this has been used. So here I go. Here I go. I'm going off to look for the good ones. So here they are. Those are the ones that I ordered from Marco. Yeah, thumbs up. So now I got the good optical sensors that I'm going to use. There's my solder that I just placed on the playfield. And I was trying my best to be very careful about this because, like I said, I did not want to drip any solder or anything. So probably the best idea would be to remove both of the sensors from like the bottom, the cords, and the conductors that are running underneath the playfield, and bring them up and everything. But I was just really trying to skip some steps on this. I really wanted to get this job done. You also probably should clean the playfield if you're going to be lifting ramps and everything, but this one had already been cleaned by the previous owners, and it did not look very dirty at all, so there really wasn't any cleanup that I really had to do. I probably just burned myself there, because I know I'm trying to just do stuff by hand when you normally have to use those helping hands that You can buy them pretty cheap at Harbor Freight. You know, the metal clips that hold them together for you and all that. Probably be a better idea to do that, but I think I tinned up my the new optical sensor and I was putting it in place. You know, getting my wires all ready and everything. Boy, I'm having trouble with this, ain't I? Like I said, I was being careful. Better safe than sorry, you know? I think I'm getting upset at the moment. I may have uttered some obscenities while I was working on this part. I do recall my cat like started to scratch at the door, and I had to tell it to go away because there's a very hot. There's the optical sensor. There's a very hot iron on the ground that could injure my poor cat if it would come in contact with it. So animals always show up at the worst times. So, but yeah, I do recommend that soldering iron. It's a cheap one, but it's pretty good. It's just a Weller soldering iron, but I've had it for years. It hasn't played out on me. I've had a soldering iron that like for my soldering station, which is a Heiko, and I couldn't uh, like a lot of items I was trying to solder on, it wasn't working, and I found out that the element in the soldering iron was bad. I was like, how does that happen? So I actually had to use my cheap Weller to fix my expensive Heiko soldering station. So, because I desoldered the heating element to put in a new heating element, so I had to use that very iron just for that. But I never would have figured that it would have went bad like that, but it did. So I thought those things were like high end, and I've used the crap out of this iron. So, but anyhow, enough about that. I'm sure that's not what you're here for, but this part took forever. I probably should have edited this a little bit more. That's just what you want to hear right now, but I didn't realize that I was taking so long on this one, but I thought I edited out everything where I wasn't even in the frame, but here I come back. Come on, let's get it going. Get this soldered in there and let's go. So yeah, I'm very angry. You saw me right there, kind of grimace. I believe I burned myself at that moment. So, I'm normally a lot more cautious about doing stuff like that, but I was really trying to hurry for the video because I didn't want this thing to be dragged out, kind of like it's going. Yeah, now I got my Leatherman tool here trying to hold the wires in place so I don't burn myself. There we go. The trick to soldering is that you really just got to make sure that everything is clean when you're doing it. You can't overheat things and let it get all burnt, and then because you're just not going to get a very good connection. Everything has to be clean, and it's good to have, if you're joining some parts, to make sure you got the pad, wet it with solder, and then wet the conductor, tin it with solder, so you're in good shape. And then when you go to heat them up together, they just flow right into each other, and it's easy peasy. So definitely try that one out. But yeah, here I'm off looking for something. Oh, I know. I went and I grabbed these. Oh no, I got a Q-tip there because I'm cleaning the edges of the of the sensor, the housing that holds the sensor. You definitely want to make sure that's clean, especially if you're going to put it back in this very hard to reach area. There's like a little black plastic piece that goes over one side and a white piece over the other side, whichever one's the sender and whichever one's the receiver. But you can kind of look into the lens of the optical sensor, and one's a little darker than the other, so you can kind of tell them apart like that. So, but I never really pay much attention to which one goes where. I just look at the lens and just notice if it's darker or not. I would say the sender is a little bit lighter. Yeah, here I'm showing the piece that goes over. This one I believe is probably the receiver, since it's a darker lens on top of it. Thumbs up, screwing it into place, and there we go. And there's one of the optics, nice and ready to be put back onto the playfield. Yeah, I think I'm trying to make sure there's no little particles of dust that's in front of the lens. You want it as clean as possible because you don't want to do this job again. I know I don't. See, without this sensor working, you can't do one of the features of the playfield, which is what is it? It's called flash speed or something like that. Whenever you go in a certain direction, when you shoot that outer loop, I think it initiates it. And then if that sensor is not working, then that feature will not work. Something flash speed. I know they don't call it hyperdrive because that's a Star Wars thing, but yeah. So that was, and I think there's also some other scenarios that you cannot complete with this sensor being out. So got to make sure every single switch on your playfield works. That switch edge test thing that I was on earlier, that's a good thing to use on this, because you can just touch a switch and it will show whether it's reading or not. These back switches are kind of a pain in the butt to get to, so the best thing to do is to get like a ball and just kind of guide it, throw it up there with your hand to see if it trips it or not. If it doesn't trip it, then you got an issue of some sort. But so here we go, getting down to the nitty gritty. I just about got this all back into place. I think I'm switching the other plastic piece onto the new one. And then we're going to get it put back into spot. So as slow as this is running, I'm starting to wonder if I sped this footage up or not. But I think I would have had to have. This can't be real time. But yeah, definitely regretting not taking some of the editing to this part. Didn't realize this was going to play out so long. But nonetheless, please bear with me, because we're almost there to the finish line. Am I putting them back in place now? I don't even think I've done the other side yet. Yeah, making sure everything's clean here with alcohol for the optical sensors. You don't really want to get that on the playfield, but because, which one do I got in my hand there? Oh, I think I'm cleaning the housing for the sender. So, yeah. Get it all nice and clean. Then a clean machine is a happy machine. At least we think. Oh, this is such a good game, though. You know, when I got it, I wasn't a Star Trek fan. I've never really watched the Next Generation, but I got the machine and I said, well, if I'm gonna have the pinball machine, I can't be a poser. I need to start watching the show. So I started watching the Next Generation, and I'm on the fourth season right now, I believe, and I'm really enjoying it. So I definitely recommend Star Trek: The Next Generation if you have not viewed it yet. So I've seen a few episodes of the original series, but I've never really watched. I may watch that after I get done with this one. Yeah, I'm getting irritated right now. I can tell. I think I'm working on that other sensor. I think I dropped it. You see me shake my head in disgust, and I'm going off to go do something. So, gotta clean stuff again because I think I dropped something on the ground. I think it was one of the sensors. So, I mean, I don't think they are that sensitive where they're going to react to any little thing of dust that's on it, but I just wanted to make sure that it was clean when I was doing it. Figured that would be best. Better safe than sorry. So, yeah. Here we go. I believe, okay, I'm starting to solder on the other side, so we're almost there. Tinning up the back pads on the optical sensor. This, I believe this part is the sender, so yeah, that's the best thing to do when it starts blasting you with smoke in the face. Just hold your head back and just try not to breathe it in. Hold your breath. Those little needle nose pliers are probably one of my favorite tools that I have, and I just bought those at Big Lots several years ago, and it's probably one of the most used items that I use for outside of a screwdriver. I love those needle nose pliers because they're very small, and you can get into very tight areas with them. So a cheap tool that's probably one of my favorites. I know I'll lose them, and then it bothers me until I find it again. So see, here I am trying to hold the wires so I can solder it with them because I think I got tired of burning my fingers on the other side. So yeah, I might have just said a naughty word, maybe. It's just the way that it goes. Whenever you're trying to hurry with something, it's like when you're driving, and like sometimes you want to catch a red light so you can do something in your car real quick, and then you don't get a red light. But when you're trying to go fast and get somewhere quickly, you'll catch every single red light in town. There we go. There's the old sensor. See, whenever I replace them, I normally take one wire off and then just put it on the new one, so you cannot make a mistake. You can't make a mistake if the wires are, removed one at a time and then placed onto the new part. So, there's a little tip for you. Don't remove both wires if you can help it. And if you can't help it, then take out your cell phone and take a picture of it. That's one of the beauties of having like a little computer in your pocket all the time now. So you don't have to remember anything. You just take a picture of it. And then when you come back and you're like, which wire went where? You look at the picture. So, let's get this thing done. Hurry it up. I think I touched the side of the cabinet of my Freddy machine there, and I'm like, just burn a hole in Freddy. Poor guy's been burned enough. I don't think it left a mark or anything. I might have just touched it for a second, but poor Freddy. I'm definitely going to be pulling out that drop target and replacing that, so maybe I'll do a video on that soon. But for now, Star Trek is getting all my love. It needs to be fixed. I need to have it a 100% working game. And so, bam, here we go. Here we go. Let's see. I'm about to try it out, I think. Should be switching camera angles, I know, soon. Once I got it working. So, or am I? I think I'm going in for one final clean just to make sure. I may be cleaning the holes. That's because there's two little metal, like guides, holds the ball in. And then there's two holes in the middle of where the sensor goes across. So I think I was making sure that was clean. Yeah, now I'm applying the screws to put it back. So I'm not about to turn on the machine just yet, but it's getting closer. What was I saying there? Hard to say. I hate these little screwdrivers, but I didn't. I should have went and got the better one. Those ones with the metal handles, they are hard to turn. But beats nothing, I guess. But I didn't want to have to go and find like the ones with the bits that you can change out and everything, because I just thought I'll just use these. It'll be good enough. I think I was showing something. Oh, I dropped a screw. See, I got my magnet out again. Yeah, that was all the way in the bottom of the cabinet. This thing with the retractable arm is very handy because you can just grab stuff pretty easily with it. And when you drop a screw in the bottom of the cabinet, it's like without that, I mean, especially when you're not like a tall person like me, fairly short person, like you can't just reach your arm in all the way to the bottom of the cabinet without like being Mr. Fantastic or something. So when you got one of these, it's great. Yeah, I think I'm looking for another screw that I didn't find until like I got done like filming everything. So I think I just gave up. But I did find it and put it in the right place whenever I got the game all back together. Okay. Now I think I might be going in for a test. Am I taking the... Oh, I think I may be removing... Yep. I was removing the balls from the ball trough with the magnet tool there. It's pretty handy for that too, because it's kind of hard to get those balls. You either have to like kind of work the coil from the bottom of the playfield yourself, which you would never want to do when it was on. There goes my screwdriver falling off of the playfield. But you either have to like kind of like flip up the ball yourself, like with force. Yeah, there we go. I found it. Something. Oh, that was a washer. Or if you got one of those magnets, you can just reach in and grab the ball, which I just find that a lot easier. So if you're working on pinball machines, I highly recommend that you get one of those. I believe I bought that one at Ollie's, but I know Harbor Freight sells one that's similar. So that one actually has a light in the center, though. When you twist the end, it turns on like a little flashlight, so it makes it even handier. The ones at Harbor Freight, I think they're just a magnet on a retractable arm. So, yeah, I'm plugging in the ramps here. We're plugging in the items that needs to be plugged in because the ramps are still disassembled from the playfield. So I think I'm just plugging in the optical sensor conductors because there's a Molex connector that's connecting those together underneath the Playfield. So it's quick access, so you can disconnect them and remove them from the Playfield without too much of a fuss. Let's see here. Moment of truth. There it is. The machine is on. And as you can tell, that is in fast mode. So here we go. Let's see. Did I do any good? Did I do any good? Let's see. I'm bringing you in close. I probably should have, yeah. This is a section that I probably should have edited. Because you seen me move the camera. See, look. I'm tripping the sensor right there. Thumbs up. Yes, he's very proud of himself right there. Now he's mugging for the camera. Okay, listen. That's me tripping the sensor with my finger. Alrighty, thank you everybody. Comment and subscribe, please. Thank you. Have a good one. See you next time.